So earlier today, Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show and had many different things to discuss, as he typically does, but I want to focus on a few of the, I think, biggest topics discussed on this show. And if we first off look back to last week, Rodgers shared on the Pat McAfee show that he would be going into his darkness retreat sometime in the next couple weeks. It would be 4 days, complete darkness and isolation, a time to think on his thoughts, go through whatever he wants to go through in that time. And it was reported this past weekend by Ian Rapoport that Rodgers would start this retreat on Monday, but this apparently was not true. And Rodgers had some things to say regarding that story, as well as a couple of reporters. So I want to read this right here. He said this: "I have no problem with Ian Rapoport, Schefter. I think they're really good at their jobs. When it comes to me, they don't know bleep. They really don't. They don't have people in my inner circle. They don't have people in my inner circle who are sources. I can promise you that. And anybody who would talk to them is not in my inner circle. It's that simple. So I've had this planned on the books for 4 months for the same time. And when someone like that goes on and says something that's not true, it creates a story that's bleep, and it just keeps on going and going and going. And then it's like I'm trying to insert myself into this conversation." So Rodgers came out, basically said the report that the retreat would start on Monday, completely false. He did say it would start later this week. So whoever that source is did not have the right information, and Rodgers basically saying that the people who are in his inner circle are not going to talk with these reporters. So it does make you question reports that do come out regarding Rodgers, because where is this information coming from? Who exactly knows? It's a good question. I don't think at least the report with Rapoport, I don't think he was intending to put out false information, but whoever the source is seemed to not have the exact information. And so when we look at, the Packers and Rodgers going forward, it is hard to know exactly what is true, what is not true, who are the sources sharing this information regarding both Rodgers and the Packers. It's really just lots of speculation and uncertainty. There's probably some truth in there. There's probably some not truth in there, and it's hard to exactly know which is true, which is not true. And it really comes down to, in the next month, we're only going to know what's going to happen when Rodgers and the Packers come out and make whatever their decision has been clear to all of us. And right now, it is sort of fun to debate what's going to happen. Will he get traded? Will he stay with Green Bay? All that talk is fun to discuss. But the truth is, we just won't know what's going to happen until they come out and say it themselves. Personally, I have said it does feel like, at least this year for me, a trade seems more likely in my mind than it has in years past, just because with Rodgers out publicly saying that if the Packers wanted to move on from him, he would have no hard feelings about that. And then we have the report the past week, which I assume is true, I guess we don't fully know, that the Packers are open to trading Rodgers if he decides that he wants to be traded. So it sort of seems like if a trade is going to happen, both sides are sort of prepared to end it in a nice way, not to end it in some kind of bad fashion between the Packers and Rodgers. So if there is a trade, things seem to be pretty smooth if that were to happen, and both sides seem to be okay with moving on. But still, we don't know what Rodgers will decide. He hasn't made a decision. He could retire. He could want to get traded. He could not want to get traded. He could be back in Green Bay in the next month. We just don't really know what's going to happen going forward. But if we look at the rest of that Pat McAfee interview, there wasn't much football talk. It was tons of other random talk, which is entertaining and fun and interesting. So if you want to see that, feel free to check that out. But that is pretty much the depth of that what they went into about his retreat. It's going to start later this week. And he also said that he is not doing this retreat just to make a decision about football. It's about, just his entire life and things he wants to think on and stuff like that. So maybe he makes a decision in there. Maybe he doesn't. We'll know in the next few weeks, month, whenever he likely will come out and say what he's going to do, and the Packers will have to make that decision as well. So we will stay tuned to see what happens next. If he returns, if he doesn't, who knows? Only time will tell. But that is all I have for this video. I appreciate you guys watching as always. If you want to stay up to date with all Packers news, Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.